In psychology, there's a concept called sensory adaptation. Very Well-Mind, a credible font of knowledge about psychology, defines it as a reduction in sensitivity to stimulus after constant exposure to it. Think about wearing a ring. After a while, you no longer feel it on your finger. When you breathe air for long enough, you fail to notice it. In the same way do American underpinnings lurk in Mark Rothko's 1956 Orange and Yellow. As an abstract expressionist piece, the work seems the same nominally as it does. The piece is the same nominally as it is substantively. That is, it looks how it sounds, orange and yellow. At a glance, the opus is nothing more than, respectively, orange and yellow blots framed by an orange perimeter. Bearing a commanding presence, the work's enigmatic nature draws even the most uninitiated eyes towards it. A near sensual interplay of color seems to function as the piece's main undercurrent. Bursting with a sort of luminous quality, the burgeoning yellow and smoldering orange are tempered by the backdrop, thereby transporting one to an oniric sort of liminal space between here and there. In short, the piece seems to convey a story of discord that fizzles, strife that dissipates. Temporality may be plotted on axes that move from the center outward in such a way that as time marches forward, entropy is swallowed, contrary to the second law of thermodynamics. One might contextualize this dissolution of discord as a frame narrative wherein Rothko himself popples atop the vicissitudes of his life. Firstly, Rothko was a Zionist Jew planted in the middle of a Russia with deep-seated religious attachments, and he would subsequently foray through the United States. Secondly, there was the Great Depression, whereupon many people's lives were remedied by the Works Progress Administration during the Roosevelt era. Thirdly, might one turn our attention to Rothko's stagnation as he pondered the zeitgeist concocted by the collective body of Nietzsche's works, only to then stride forward and carry on with the yet more prolific career's worth of paintings thereafter. All of these vignettes seek to demonstrate the inversion of chaos. They seek to contradict the Machiavellian logic that pronounces peacetimes as the interims of war as opposed to vice versa. So the question remains, how does this painting have the remotest connection to U.S. history? Now, to the American history. The United States has oscillated between isolationism and interventionism over the course of just about the entirety of its history. Over the course of Rothko's lifetime, at least, one might nod to the isolationist-interventionist dynamic that transpired through the scope of the First World War. After numerous happenings, the sinking of the Lusitania, the Zimmerman telegram affair, Wilson and Congress thought that it behooved the states to engage in warfare. And while many paint American opinion with a broad brush, the United States planted itself in the war nevertheless. In the postludes to the war, 70% of Americans polled dubbed the American participation in the war nothing short of a mistake. While the states did not join the League of Nations or ratify the Treaty of Versailles, the U.S. took extensive measures to, e.g. the Emergency Quota Act of 1921, the Johnson-Reed Act of 1924, limit foreign influence, or in other words, immigration to the United States altogether. However, soon thereafter, with such groups as the Committee to Defend America and Fight for Freedom would rally to wage war against Germany in the midst of World War II. Pearl Harbor naturally tipped the U.S. into war, and while some contend that isolationism wasn't evident after the Second World War, the thematic implications of Rothko's work extend far beyond his time. Isolationism seemed to find its renaissance following such formative events as 9/11 and yet, more recently, former President Donald Trump's America First campaign. And put all together now, Rothko's piece seems a hearty commentary on the crests and troughs of American interventionism-isolationism cycles. So, let's revisit sensory adaptation. When you venture into a dim room, as one does, it takes a moment for your pupils to dilate, but they do, and you adjust to the lighting. When you plunge into a hot shower, the shower doesn't seem nearly as hot as your body adjusts to the temperature. In the same capacity is Rothko's integration of American history in his painting Invisible. Invisible because it is ubiquitous.